Today, I'm talking to one of my clients. Her name is Wynter, and she is a VA that helps people go live with confidence. Because when you have someone that is helping you bust through the algorithm, when you are having someone that is helping you get your engagement up on your post, make sure that you have all your tech in place, then you can go live and deliver content that's actually going to increase your sales by helping you reach more potential clients. Winter and I have been working together in my Fearless Fundamentals coaching program and getting her VA business off the ground. I'm going to make sure and share all the links so that you can check in with Winter if you too would like to make sure that you are creating content that is actually getting seen and heard and growing your business instead of content that is just disappearing somewhere into the ethos. So Winter and I had one of my breakthrough sessions. And the reason why these are really important is because I have found that in working with many entrepreneurs in my own journey, that mindset is often the thing that really holds you back because our actions determine our results. And it's really hard to get your actions to be different if you are not changing your beliefs, because the beliefs are the things that determine the actions, and the actions determine the results. So, Winter was very generous today to come on and talk a little bit about her breakthrough session so that you all can understand how powerful it can be, how powerful it could be for you, and we're discussing some of the techniques because these NLP techniques, these brain based science techniques, are extremely awesome and helpful. And to me, they have been the thing that gets you the fastest results versus, journaling your heart out and doing affirmations. And I do all of those things, meditation, I do all of those things. But this is really a super powerful tool. And I am still learning the best ways to really articulate what it is and how it helps. And so I am just really grateful that you're here today, Winter, to help kind of explain and talk about your own experience and share that, because I think that so many people can really resonate with the things that you're saying, the beliefs that were holding you back. And so I'm going to let you take it from here and just kind of talk a little bit about the session. So, what we did was we had our mindset breakthrough session, and it's a 60-minute session where we do some techniques. So some of them are NLP, some of them are time techniques to really zero in on what is the belief that's holding you back? Where did it start from? And then what can we replace it with so that you have more positive actions afterwards? So, Winter, could you share a little bit about this experience, just kind of overall, because you didn't know what to expect either?
That is so true. I had no idea what I was getting into when I decided to do this with you. The belief that I had was that I did not deserve to be happy. And we came to realize during this session that, or I came to realize that this belief started for me when I was in high school. And I just kind of felt like everything that I was doing was not enough for anyone, including myself. Um, Over the years, I've realized that that was not true at all because I was a very high achieving person in just about everything that I did. And that belief was just something completely in my head. Um, but the techniques that we used helped me see, I guess, from a different perspective. Because I know one of the techniques that we used was the NLP technique, correct? Or was it no the time technique, I think, where we were talking about my timeline and discussing like what it would look like from above. And that, and by doing that, I was able to take myself out of the situation and just observe it as a third party. And I think by doing that, it helped me to see it from a completely different perspective.
So, what you're referring to, this particular technique, is the time technique. And what I think is so interesting about this one is because it can be so hard to really see the broader picture, the lessons that you need to learn when you're in it, because you're so attached to your feelings and what you believe, like what you believe about it. And when we do the time technique, we were able to remove ourselves so that we're looking at it, like you said, from a different perspective. And it takes all of that, it removes all of the deep emotional connection you have to it. So you can see it kind of like how you see things in hindsight, or, a distant memory. Like you see things differently than when you're in it. And so when you can kind of remove yourself from it, then you see it in a different way. And so the other thing that I wanted to mention is that I know a lot of times when we talk about beliefs like I'm not good enough, I'm not meant to be happy, that it's not like you wake up every day and you're like, you know what? I'm not meant to be happy. Like, it actually takes a little bit of time to get to the thing that's under the thing, because it didn't start off as, you didn't say to me, well, Shanna, I think that I believe I shouldn't be happy. That wasn't it. The thing that we were talking about and what was playing out was this feeling of always saying yes to things to kind of your own detriment, and putting yourself in positions where where you were never going to reach those expectations.
Right. Right.
And just feeling like, basically, like I can't do anything right. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not a good feeling. And, for everyone listening too, I mean, and once you kind of put it in a different perspective, you can see if you constantly really feel like I can't do anything right, that how is that going to help you get your business off the ground? How hard is it when in the back of your head you're saying I can't do anything right, to try something again, to look at your marketing strategy objectively and think, well, what if I tweak this little thing, or what if I do that? And especially if you get on a sales call and the person decides not to work with you, if you believe I can't do anything right, I mean, oh my gosh, right? Because
Right.
our brains are so weird that we're always looking for evidence of the things that we believe. And so then, even when something does go right and something is very positive, you kind of push that to the side because you're still laser focused on all the things that are going to prove. So when we can switch our belief to something positive, then our brains are naturally going to start to look for evidence of that. And just this week, when we were scheduling this call, you told me like 3 or 4 things that seemed magical that had just happened for you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that you would have seen it before if it had happened before this call, because you would have still been like, well, but I always do everything wrong.
Right. 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 Exactly. Exactly.
And it's the difference between thinking that something awesome that has happened, an opportunity, a collaboration, anything like that, instead of thinking that it is the first of many good things that are going to happen, you think that it's a fluke. And so you play it down. So for anyone who's like, wow, I think another one that's kind of like, I don't deserve to be happy, is people that sabotage their own success because they don't believe that they should be or could be successful. And so, and to hear that, you think, well, who would do that? Why am I
Right.
spending all this money marketing my business? I clearly want to be successful. And so it's just one of those things. So I was, we dug into it to come up with, I don't believe that I should be happy, but tell us a little bit about what you learned. So seeing it from that different perspective, what you learned, and then how you've seen that show up for you since then.
Well, like I said, I learned that this belief, and all of the other little attached beliefs, really started to manifest when I was younger, and especially in high school. And I didn't realize how much pressure I used to put on myself during that time. But I look back now and I realize little things, little red flags that I should have noticed. But of course, when you're in that situation, you don't see it that way. So I did love doing the time technique where I could look at it from a different perspective and see it, outside as if I was an observer. And I've noticed, just like you said, that since we had that call and we've had calls since then, our group coaching, that I've started to say yes on my terms when I feel that it's right. And I'll get all of the information and then I'll say no. And no is a choice for me. And before, it wasn't really a choice. It was just kind of like, yeah, I'll do it. But it's not going to be what you want. But I feel like you said, that if you have that mindset where you're like, that's just a fluke. That's, I mean, yeah. So 3 things were great that happened to me. I mean, it's only 3 things. I've just kind of accepted that this is my path, and all of these wonderful things that are happening are meant to, excuse me, are meant to be. And I think something else that I started to think about too, after having this session with you, was basically that, like, I have this I have this hesitance to do anything because I'm so scared that I'm going to fail. But what I started to think about is, I'm also an actor. And when I've gone out for roles, I mean, several roles, and I didn't get it, I never thought, I mean, I did at times, I thought that I was a horrible actor. And, but as I got older, it was like, okay, I wasn't the right fit for that part. But the only thing is that you can't be considered if you don't show up. So I think that's that's the big thing that I've taken away from it.
Yeah, that feeling that you're going to do it wrong. I mean, that was really, really holding you back. But since we had the session, sorry, since we had the session, you were more easily sending stuff to me. Like, these are the things that I think my prices are going to be. This is some content, and you more easily were sending things out. So I can see that from just being on the other side of it, that removing the hesitancy that you're going to do it wrong with the underlying thing of, well, I don't deserve to be happy anyway. So what's the point of trying? And it does matter. Like, those little things can really add up into huge, massive things. I mean, if you can't write your content because you're afraid it's going to be wrong and it's not going to be perfect, how are you ever going to market your business? Like, how are people going to know about you? It makes it so difficult. And that's why I think that this is important and should be talked about more, because I thought that it was just me. Like, when I started my business and I started going down like ugly mindset kind of stuff, I had no idea. I thought it was surprising. It was like all the monsters came out of the closet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that
Yeah,
because you just have to face things like that. You have to face those fears every single day to take the little steps to start building up your confidence. And so I think it's really helpful. And another one of the techniques we use is that, when you remove something that is negative, you need to put something positive. So we want to make sure we're always moving towards something positive. So one of the other techniques we use is when you really visualize what success means for you in a way that feels very real. And then you make sure that you snap that picture into place so that you can see what we're moving towards. And you said that was one of your favorite things.
that is so true. As you know, I had kind of this like dark cloud hanging over me with my previous work situation. And when I left, I just I couldn't function. I didn't really know where to go next or what to do, even though everyone, including you, was telling me, take your time, give yourself grace, all of these wonderful, wonderful things. But of course, I freak out over everything. Um, but I really liked having that visualization, because it gave me something to put into my head to distance myself from my previous work experience, and also to just visualize what I want my ideal situation to be. And that was something that I didn't allow myself to do because I was so in my previous job.
So the other part of what we did, we kind of did this in two ways. And this is a little bit of my beef with manifestation, just the way that it is popularized right now, is that it sounds like the science behind it is that your body is like a robot, And whatever your mind tells it, that's what it's going to do. And so when
Mhm.
we can change our beliefs, and if you believe something negative, you're constantly going to find all the negative evidence of that. If it's positive, it's constantly going to be towards positive. So what we want to do is make sure that our brains are like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. Like these are the things that are out there for me. And that is manifestation. So, but it doesn't mean that you don't do anything else in the meantime. And then again, it sounds like, well, this should be really easy. And I know then it's like another way for you to beat yourself up and say, well, I'm doing it wrong. I must be a failure. I can't manifest. Everybody else seems to be manifesting stuff. What is wrong with me? Why can't I manifest? Um, but there's more to it than just the visualization. I think the visualization is a really important part. But the other thing we did is that this situation around you leaving the job that you had was highly emotional. Not
Mhm.
only is it a big life change, and anytime you make a big life change, even if it's positive, right? They say that having children influences a family for at least 6 months. It
Mhm.
changes up the family dynamics, and that's definitely a positive thing. So we have to know that big change takes some time to get used to. But what we did was, instead of this, which it was an opportunity for you to overcome this idea that you do everything wrong and this is just what you deserve. And a lot of it was you saying yes to things that you shouldn't have said yes to. I don't say like shouldn't have, but I mean really
Mhm.
overextending
Mhm.
yourself. Um, so what we did was we took some of the charge out of that situation, right? So we changed your perspective on that situation and we replaced it with the visualization. So first it was creating the vision and really getting clear where you can think, feel, smell like what it looks like for you so that you know where you're going. And then pulling back all of the charge, all of the emotion around the other situation so that it's not so present, because I think it was a huge barrier. So what we do is we bring all the good stuff forward and we bring the other thing
Mhm.
backwards, and in connection with the time technique where you can kind of see the overall lesson that you have to learn. That's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember another thing that you told me is that my, and you can probably like explain this a little bit better than me, but the way that I visualized my business was kind of out here as opposed to in front of me. And you said that I had this belief that it was unattainable. So that was one of the things that we worked on during our session as well.
Yeah, that is one of the most interesting things to me, is that usually when people think about a timeline, what's in the future is going to be like right here, and what's in the past is going to be right here behind your head. For those listening, I guess that was a little bit, but future is usually right in front of you, like right in front of your eyes, and then things that are in the past, generally think about them right behind your head. So when you're thinking, everybody's timeline is a little bit different, but that's generally the way that most people think about it. So when I was asking Winter about her future and where she saw it, it was kind of in her peripheral vision, but a little bit farther back. So it wasn't in front of her. And I thought that was really interesting, because knowing all the things that had led up to the conversation that we were having about her timeline, she had already decided that she wasn't moving towards that. It was in her present, but she wasn't moving towards it. And so you can see how, like, oh wow, that is going to be that is difficult, because I'm always talking about how you don't want to spend all of your time trying to solve the wrong problem.
Mhm.
And so imagine if you were to continue to like invest in coaching and courses and maybe a brand, and then you're like, well, I know the clients are going to come, but I'm just going to keep doing this, but really you've already decided that it's not.
Mhm.
That's very
Yeah.
problematic. And so the difference between what you want, but what you have actually already decided, is going to make you miserable.
Right. 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 Exactly.
And I really think that one of the reasons why mindset is so important is because I think that if you operate from a place of feeling like a failure for a long period of time, it is very damaging to you as a person long term. I I mean, it's one thing to be like, well, I had some ups and downs, but, here I am and I've reached my goals and those types of things. But I think that it can detrimentally damage your self-confidence. And that is what's so hard to rebuild. So it shouldn't be like a bullet. It shouldn't be like you're taking a bullet for your business. It should not feel like that. But I think a lot of people do. If you've spent 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever, trying to build up a business and you've had a few clients here and a few clients there, and there's only so many times you can pump yourself up and think things are starting to change if they don't. I mean, that feels terrible. And so I think that these are amazing techniques to help people get some really fast progress, because I don't want anyone to feel like that.
Right. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I know that I still have, I have that little bit of doubt, but I don't have like that huge like weight of the world on my shoulders kind of doubt that I had before. Um, I'm just, as you say, I'm taking it like just a little chunk at a time.
Mhm.
I'm working through the steps to get to what I need to do.
Yeah, and I think that as Shrek says, people are like an onion and they have lots of layers, and we
Yeah.
definitely do. And it's so funny because my friend and I have joked about this a lot. We're like, oh my God, like how many more layers do I have? I'm doing so much work. But probably an immense amount of layers. So I really love this work, and I do, do it to myself, or then that sounds weird, but you know what I'm saying. I practice this on myself because there's always there's always more, and I feel like there's kind of big chunks of things, and then there's like the dust that's left over. So there's a
Mhm.
little more tidying and sweeping up to do, but when you can move some of those big pieces, you get so much faster results. And so I can't wait for us to do another session and see how much more we can pull back and sort and reorganize so that those things aren't in your way anymore. And the thing that I think that I love the most about this technique is that it is healing.
Mhm.
So it's not just about trying to move something to a different closet. It's really about being able to look at something and work through it and heal it so that you are really getting the biggest amount of results from that. And the other thing that I love about it is that some of this stuff, like, you can do yourself. Like, once you've experienced and learned it, like, you can do it yourself. And so I feel like it's just a powerful tool for people to use. And I mean, work and life, right? Because they're integrated. They're always
Mhm.
falling all over each other.
Right.
But yeah, I'm really excited. So if you could kind of just explain to someone else if they were considering trying some of these things, like, what would your advice be?
I would tell people to do it. If they're having those mind blocks, or they may be hesitant. I know a lot of people sometimes are hesitant to do things that may seem a little woo woo, or outside their comfort zone. You should just try it. I mean, the worst thing that, well, I won't say the worst thing, but um I mean, what do you have to lose? You get either a mindset that's better, or you have the same mindset, but usually you would have a better understanding of why you do the things that you do, and help you along your journey.
Yes, I agree. So these techniques, again, are science based, and but they do, some of them feel a little bit like, what, this is kind of weird. Like, the timeline thing may seem a little bit weird at first, but it's fine. But they are science based. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so
Mhm.
I love mixing the two. Like, I think the two together are really interesting because on my end, I can send some very positive and supported energy. And on your end, it's very straightforward. Like, you're not telling me details about your life, you're not having to do any of that kind of stuff. It's totally you. And what I think is one of the most unique takeaways from this combination of techniques, to me, I think it's a little bit of self-trust. Because it's not
Right.
me, it's you. It's all coming from you. These are all, they say that it's your subconscious, but I believe it's also your intuitive guidance system too, right? It's giving you this
Yeah.
information, but it's all you. It's not me. I'm just the facilitator. And then after we uncover these things, then as we're moving forward into the things that we're doing inside of the business coaching, the way that this plays out is because we spot it, right? So we are
Mhm.
working on strategy, like all of these good things, and we're just clearing anything that's going to hold you back.
Right, exactly. And I've felt that over the last couple of months. Um, and I know that with everything that happened and this breakthrough session, I noticed a change. And I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but I won't say it was immediate because I had a couple of weeks where I was just like, I had to deal with what had just happened. Um, but yes, I have been just trying to do things and, show it to you and not so much get approval, but just kind of get your input. Um, and I think that's also what I had to move past is approval because I felt like I had to send like every little thing to you to be approved before I could submit it. And then we had a conversation where you were just like, just do it. And I was like, okay. Um, so that, I mean, that's one of the things that I really love about like these techniques and your coaching and everything. So
Well, I'm glad for you because I don't want anyone to be dependent on me, because I don't feel like that's really doing any favor. So my goal is always for your long-term success. And again, that's part of what I love about these tools because I feel like, I mean, this is forever, right? This plays into everything. So nothing I do is just to set you up to be super dependent on me so that you won't continue to have to work with me. you know so I love this because what you were saying about approval and that kind of scarcity, you're not the only person, you're definitely not my only client that I've had like that. And so we've done like different things to help them develop more confidence and more self-trust so that they
Mhm.
don't feel that way. And I can tell you, I'm thinking of one person in particular, how quickly things will start to happen, especially this one person I'm thinking of, within like, I mean, just immediately almost.
Mhm.
And nothing was different except for them.
Right. Yeah.
It was their development of self-trust. Instead of waiting and feeling like they had to run everything by me, it was their own development of self-trust. And then they just started doing things on their own, and I was like, okay, this is so good, because stuff started to roll after that. And so developing self-trust and being able to get those things out of the way, I think are so great. So I appreciate you so much for sharing your experience with other people, because I don't feel like I have developed the best way to articulate what it is. And so I think it sounds more relatable and more understandable hearing it from someone else. So thank you for sharing all of that with us today. And just tell everybody where they can look you up in case they are ready to beat the algorithm.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook at Winter Star VS, and that's Winter with a Y because that's how I spell my name. And on Instagram, Winter Star underscore VS, and it's Winter Star Virtual Solutions, and I can help you go live with confidence.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wynter.
You're welcome, Shanna. Have a good day.